Well, hey everybody. My goodness, it's been like forever since I put a video on here. Actually, it's only been a few weeks. But I was putting videos on here every other day or whatever. And of course, that was before school started. But it has been a couple weeks since I put a video on here, and I was anxious to get one on. Now it's for me the second week of school with the kids. And I say the second week, it's not really the second full week. You know, we started last week, the kids came in Monday, they went to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then of course this past weekend was Labor Day, so the kids had off Friday, they had off this Monday. So this week, we're back in the classroom today. We were back in the classroom today. We're in there tomorrow, Thursday, because of the elections that are taking place. We have off, well, the kids have off, we have an in-service, but the kids have off on Thursday, and then of course we're together again Friday. And so this is like, a 3-day week. Kids are loving it. It's makes them quite happy when they don't have to go the whole round, the whole full week. And but anyway, it's been great. It's been meeting my class, getting to know my class, and of course we're still in the getting to know each other stage. It's very important. First impressions, very important. First impressions from us. I mean, not our first impressions of our kids, because a lot of your kids, who you see, is not necessarily who they are. And this is mainly for the newbies, my beloved newbies out there, who you've been seeing if you've been in school for the last 2 weeks, or if you're starting school. I don't know if for any reason under the sun why anybody else would be watching this video, but if you aren't starting school till, well, you started school this week. Today was your first day back because you didn't start till after Labor Day. You're not going to see who a lot of your students are right away. They're subdued. You're not going to see certain behaviors. You're not going to see a lot of things in the beginning. And I think as a newbie, that can be frustrating at times, because you could very well get your class and you meet them and everything's great. And then there's a kid who seems to be awesome and amazing, but after the second week of school, they seem to lose their mind a little bit, and behaviors start to come up. That happens every year. You're going to find that some kids really won't reveal who they are until a little bit later. When they figure out the routine, they figure out what's going on in the classroom, and depending on the kind of teacher you are, you're either going to pick up on this really quick, when these things start to come out. You're going to start seeing little clues. Or you won't. It's just going to be like a complete turnaround, and you're going to think or say to yourself things like, wow, this kid was really great. I don't know what's happened, but wow, they've turned into a whatever. So it's going to happen, and it's going to happen every year in that kind of way. Every year your class is going to be different. Don't ever get caught into that trap where, last year it was the greatest class. They were amazing. They did that. There were some problems, but you ironed them out and you got them taken care of, and you worked together in the class, and the kids were, oh, it was so grand and great. Don't get into that trap where you're hoping and wishing and thinking this year is going to be the same way. It's going to be amazing. You're even going to go so far as to think back, what did I do to help that happen, to help make this class so, yay? Yeah, well, classes are different from year to year. And I'm not saying, some years you're going to have bad classes and some years you're going to have good classes. They're all good. They're all awesome because they're all yours. You've just got to know that every year the class is different. The atmosphere is going to be different. There are going to be some years where most of the year, if not all of the year, you've been pulling your hair out, or you've been, pounding the desk, pounding your head, trying to figure out how to get through to these kids. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. And you may feel like you never did, whatever. Chances are real good you did in some kind of way. There are some hard case kids out there who, no matter what you do, they're certainly not going to ever let you know that you got to them in some way. You might find out later down the road, I don't know if they come and visit and say, hey, when I was a kid and blah, blah, blah. But my point about this is classes are different. And this year could be an even better year than last year. This year's atmosphere could be a little different. It could be a little skewed. It could be a little this. It could be a little that. Whatever it is, you got to make the best of it. Whatever it is, you got to not give up when whatever it is in your classroom, especially if it's going towards the negative, or if there's like a darkness or a cloud that seems to be kind of hanging over your class. Just know you're not alone. You're not the only teacher out there who has that cloud kind of hanging over their class. It happens, and what you got to do is you've got to be the shining star, so to speak. You have got to be the one that pushes back that darkness. You have got to be the one to do that. There's going to be no one else in the classroom that's going to do that but you. Obviously, you're the teacher. You're the one who is kind of at the helm, So, anyway. So, if you've already started these last 2 weeks, we have, my district has, you've gotten to know your kids a little bit, and they've gotten to know you. There's no secret to a teacher, and there really isn't. As far as like going into the classroom and this whole classroom management thing that I'm really big on. And I say that I'm really big on, everybody should be big on it, because classroom management is everything. Management is everything. Ladies and gents, if you don't have classroom management, then your class is going to basically run you. You're going to have a horrible time. You have got to get to the point, even with your most hard case kids, and some years you're going to have kids who think they're bigger, tougher, stronger, smarter than you are. Somehow, some way, you've got to show these kids that, no, son, sweetie pie, that's not the case. I'm the boss, applesauce. I'm the alpha, my way or the highway type of thing. You got to be there for them. If it entails some yelling and screaming, gnashing of teeth, pounding to get through, just make sure you're doing it for the kid. Don't do it because it pisses you off. Don't do it because they make you mad. Don't do it because they're doing something, even if it's something horrible like bullying or, starting fights, being mean, being evil. You have got to get in there. You have got to get some kind of help. Don't just rely on yourself. If you've got a kid who's got those things going on, talk to the counselor, talk to the principals, talk to your team of teachers. There are some ideas out there on how to help this kid. There's a lot of idioms out there, and one of them for teachers, and one of them goes something like, the kids who need the most love certainly have a rotten way of showing it. The kids who need you the most, who need the most of everything, are the ones that you want to pound in the head so that you can get through to them. They're the ones that, you can't give up on, because they will. They've already fallen through cracks somewhere. They've certainly fallen through the cracks at home. They've fallen through the cracks perhaps in other grades lower as they've come through, because chances are real good if they come into you with immediate behavioral problems, if they don't have a BIP, then they have displayed these kinds of things before and probably maybe spent more time in the principal's or the counselor's office. These kids know how to play the game. They're going to do whatever they can do to get out of your class, to get to the counselors or to get to the principals, because to them, trouble, at least it's attention, and at least it's somebody paying attention to them, and they're getting them out of your class, and they don't have to do any work. And any work that they get sent to, if they're an ISS, at least it's not the classroom, So, persevere. It's going to be difficult some years, newbies, but you got to persevere. You got to remember, you got to look at your shining stars in that class. You got to look towards the majority. I truly believe with all my heart. Kids will say, you're a teacher, you see the bad kids all the time. No. There are some who have, even me, in my salty, wizened teacher pedagogical soul, there have been kids who really just got to the point where it made me feel like, I've lost it. My mojo's gone. I used to have what I thought was a power over these kids. I could get to the hardest cases. I could get there at some point. Then there have been some years in recent years where I can't get there. I've tried everything I know. And I know that if I did give up, if I stopped, just put this kid out. I have had one or two students over in my career where we butted heads to such a degree, and it wasn't so much the kid and myself as much as it was my kid butting heads with other kids in the classroom, to where certain kids were afraid, and of course they kept it inside and they internalized it. It was a bullying thing. It just snowballed into something yuck. But I went through that phase too, where I thought, I've lost it. I've lost my mojo. And you have to realize, as a teacher, you're going to feel that way a lot, whether you're teaching a lot of years like myself, or whether you're teaching just this year, or this is your second year or third year. You're going to feel defeated sometimes. It's part of the game. It's part of the process. It's part of your profession. It makes you who you are. Imagine if you were so arrogant to think that everything you did was right. You would be one heck of a lousy teacher, I can tell you that. You got to worry. You got to be worried about yourself and the things that you do. You got to be worried about your kids and the things they do. And it's okay. It's okay to feel defeated, because you're gonna. But it doesn't mean you're down and out for the count. It means you must persevere. We are built, true teachers, genuine teachers, are built to endure. And that's what we can do. We can endure. No matter what happens, we can endure. I'm just looking at the time. It's already 11 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it under, whatever. So anyway, we're 2 weeks in. You've met your kids, something you got to try to do, newbies. Keep up with that paperwork. There's online trainings. There's things in Schoolology, whatever the heck that thing is. There's all these online things. You got to do it. You got to keep up with it. If you're younger than me, that's going to be easy, because you were probably born into this age, so you're privy to all that technology stuff. You got to keep up with it. You got to keep up with everything. Keep up with all the paperwork. If something needs to be done and in, get it done and in. Keep up with your emails. Check it once, twice, 3 times a day. Check it more if you can, but don't go out of your way. Don't check your email in the middle of a lesson, duh. But check it in the morning, check it at lunch or at your planning, check it at the end of the day. Sometimes parents, they're not realizing, sometimes they'll send an email at like 5 minutes to 3 to tell you that they want their little precious child to walk instead of ride the bus. Well, I don't check my email at 5 to 3 because I'm teaching. So that kid is getting on the bus because I never saw the email. So you got to let these parents know when things like that happen. Either call them, send them a note. Don't send me an email at 5 to 3. I'm busy teaching, so send me a note in the morning, And if that's the case, don't send me an email. In other words, if it's something that just came up, call the office. Tell the parents, call the front office, let them know, and then they can call down or announce over the thing, Mr. Mack, so-and-so is going to be a car rider today. That's the way to do it. So keep up with all the stuff, too, that you got to do. Just keep up with it. Keep up with it all year. When something comes in, get it done and get it back out. Now, I'm not talking about grading. I'm talking about, the business side when it comes to any trainings or anything from PLC or anything you're supposed to do, for everything, for school, for your classroom, for even your observation or something like that. Get it in, get it done, get it over with. When you talk to your kids, make sure these past 2 weeks, I sit down and I talk to them. I want to get to know them. And I want to shock them. I want them to realize that they have a teacher this year that they've had, the likes of which they've never had before. Mr. Mack is not your typical teacher. I'm what I guess you could say, I'm a non-traditional teacher. I'm loud, I'm boisterous, I'm very animated. I can get the kid laughing in one moment and guessing or trying to figure out what they did wrong. If a kid, you're talking and suddenly a kid starts to speak, blurt, blurty, stop with the blurting. You let them know. Most of the time that shocks everybody, the whole class, and they're like, what? And most of the time it doesn't happen again. If it does, same thing, same reaction. Let them know, I just told you with the blurt. Stop with the blurt. And then get them laughing. Get them going. Let them see you. Now, the beginning of this thing, I said, first impressions. You're not going to know them right away because most of them aren't going to show it. They need to know you from the very first day. They need to know you. They need to know you from the first day, the second day. By this time, I'm not even a full week, but a week and a day in. Those kids know that if they do something wrong, I'm going to be on it. That if they're doing something great, I'm going to be on it. I'm there. It's Mr. Mac. You could hear me coming down the hall sometimes. You got to let them know right up front, right away. Full disclosure on who you are and what you're about in that classroom. That classroom is yours. I told you before, think of your classroom as your second home. It is your house. No one, kids, parents, nobody, is to tell you what you can do in your classroom. You're not going to go to a kid's house and tell their parents what they can do in their house. They're certainly not going to come and tell you what you can do in your classroom, nor are your kids. Your kids are going to do what you say. Now, I'm not saying to be a dictator because my kids have votes and they make decisions, and I don't do anything in my classroom without consulting my kids. We talk through it. Everything from, do we want to go out for recess today because it's so ungodly hot? I don't want to make an executive decision and say we're not. I want to talk to them and say, listen, guys, it's 95 degrees. The humidity is 95%. Whatever, Open it up, talk to them. Their impression of us must come from the first moment they meet. When they meet me, they know a lot about me already. They know that, for the most part, it's no nonsense. What you see is what you get. And if something silly is going to happen, or if you're going to do something that I've already told you not to do, it's going to be loud and it's going to be right up front as far as, okay, why did you just do what you did when you know you weren't supposed to do it? Huh? Get it. Let them see you. Whatever. So meet with them. Talk with them. Let them know everything. There's a million things. They're not going to remember half of it. They're not going to remember a quarter of it. But it's all right. Take them through it. Take them on the ride. Introduce them to everything. Show them your room. Introduce every little piece, every little detail. That's what I do. This is Poe. This is Rowling. This is my Harry Potter part. Here's my library. Look at my books. They're awesome. I've got series here, this series and that series. I've got individual books over here. My favorites are up there. I have other favorites on the rail, on the whiteboard in the back. Help yourself. Find something awesome. Take them through step by step. Show them how to find a book in the library. Show them how to go in the online library. Take the STAR test. Show them what to do. They'll remember half of it from doing it before, but still, be there with them. Be over the top if you can. One of my favorite teachers, my second grade teacher, of all the favorite teachers I've had, and this includes right up through high school, you could count them on one hand, but one of my favorites was Mrs. McLeod. And I loved her dearly, and she was from Scotland, and she had a very strong accent, and I loved her, and I was the class clown, but I was the kid who always had his hand up. I was the kid who the teachers would say, at least all through elementary anyway, because no matter what they asked, I was this, and they would look around like, anyone else but Jimmy? Anyone else? It was just me. But Mrs. McLeod, she was one of those teachers. She found me. She knew who I was, and it was okay. Even when I was constantly getting her, because I was always fascinated with the occult and macabre and strange things, even in those days when I was, 8 in second grade. I was always get her talking about the Loch Ness Monster, because she was from Scotland, and she was okay with that. But she was the opposite of me, and yet I do my best every day to emulate her. She was quiet and she was sweet, and I don't remember her ever yelling at anybody, And there's something about her commanded respect. I know I wasn't the only one who loved her, but she was brilliantly. She was brilliant. She was amazing, and she did it quietly and awesomely. And I would have moved a mountain for that lady. Every moment of second grade, I would have done anything she asked. Now, it goes with what I had said on another tape about if you observe teachers and you see what they do, and no matter what they tell you, you're not that teacher. I know I'm not Mrs. McLeod, and I never will be, but the one thing I know I can do that makes a difference to my kids is I can love my kids. She loved us. She loved me. And that made all the difference. And I love my kids. Every year I've loved my kids. And I've already loved my kids and this year. How can you not? You spend 9 months with them, 7.5 hours a day. How could you not love them? But it makes all the difference in the world. And not right away, you know. When the kids figure it out, you can tell them you love them. But a lot of those kids have heard words their whole life. You got to show them. In a lot of ways, you got to show them. Sometimes you got to fight for them. Sometimes you got to fight with them. And when I say fight with them, never fight with a kid. I never, in my career, have ever fought with a kid. Never. Kid, you listen to me. Don't open your mouth. Listen. You don't fight with a kid. Kids don't fight back. The kid listens. But what I mean is when you fight with them, fight with what they're dealing with. Okay? Don't scream at them. If you have to scream and pound, scream for them. I'm Irish. I'm a natural loud screamer. I came out screaming, and I've always been loud. But you gotta, if you have to holler, don't holler at them. Holler for them. Okay, what you're doing is for them. And build them up, too, at the same time. If you've really got to let them know that what you've done, they've disappointed you. They've made you so angry because what they did wasn't a mistake anymore, because they did it more than once. Now it's a choice. You got to let them know, but at the same time, you got to tell them, I love you. You're one of my favorite kids. I'm not going to let you fall through the cracks, but I'm also not going to let you do this again. You are not going to have and display this behavior. It's not going to happen. So you fight for them. It may, to them at first, it might sound like you're arguing because they're not used to having somebody fight for them, for the most part, especially a teacher. Anyway, they're going to realize you love them, and that's going to make all the difference, I promise. It's already past. It's already 21 minutes. I want to talk about the grade book. Most of us have electronic grade books. I, of course, put my grades in the electronic grade book, but I also have my Ellen green. Of course, I say green because all mine have been green. I can't see color, but my grade book, my hard copy, I keep my grades in there, and then what I do when it's time for grades, a week or so before progress or a week or so before report cards, I put my grades in the system. But I have my hard book, my real grade book that my teachers had, that I've always had. We had that long before this electronic stuff. So I have it, and I let my parents know too. You know, don't go in there and think you're going to see grades every single day. But if you're a stickler and you really want to see how your kid's doing grade-wise, if you don't hear from me or Mrs. Treadwell, chances are your kid's doing great. But you know, if you want to see some grades, come in. I'll show you. Here's my book. There's your kid. There's the grades. Or you can wait for progress, or you can wait for your report card. Either way, your kid's doing great. About the grade book, you don't have to put every grade in there. Always remember that. I've had teachers, and you have too, where everything you did went in that book, and you didn't always end up with the best grade because you got punished for practicing. I never understood that. Never. Even when I was a fledgling novice teacher, I knew I was not going to put every grade in the grade book. It doesn't make sense to punish anybody, a kid especially, for practicing. Use analogies with sports, the arts, anything. You got a kid that's just learning baseball. You're not going to go out and watch a practice where the kid's dropping the ball and he doesn't know how to hit the ball. He can't hold the bat correctly. You're not going to judge him on that performance. You're going to wait. You're going to let him practice. You're going to let him or her make mistakes. That's how they learn. There are going to be plenty of mistakes in the beginning. Are you going to put all those mistakes in some kind of a book? A sports player, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. Are you going to judge the kid on practices, or are you going to wait until the game when they have fine-tuned their skills? And what about the arts? You don't go and watch a rehearsal and say, oh, that play's terrible. Well, of course it is. The people don't know their lines. They don't know where they're going. It's practice. You don't punish a kid for practice. In your classroom, they're learning a new concept. They have this little practice sheet they're going to do. Let them get a grade. Let them do terrible on it. Let them see their mistakes. Show it to them. Let them fix them. But don't put that mistake in your grade book. Don't average mistakes and don't average practice in with real grades. Wait till they get it a little bit. You know? So put grades in your book. Put grades on that computer, but not all of them. While your kids are practicing, let them practice. Let them make mistakes. Let them take those mistakes and fix them. Sit with them. Let them work through it. Get a kid who really has the concept and let that kid sit with the kid who's making mistakes. A lot of times, the kids are going to get a concept. Concept attainment. Faster, quicker, and better with a peer than they will with you. I know that's hard to swallow. It was for me. Not anymore. Oh my gosh, as long as my kid is getting that concept attainment, if a purple duck knew what a noun was and could teach it better than I'd have a purple duck at every one of my students' desks. Absolutely. So keep that in mind with your grade book. Not every grade has to go in there. Use your grade book as an achievement tool, not as a punishment. And there are teachers that do that. There are teachers who use ridiculous grading systems. I remember, even with my son in school, if he didn't turn in certain, like an emergency card or something, they counted them as zeros on their academic record. Are you freaking kidding me? Sure, I'm glad I said freaking. But they did. I never understood. I just never got it. I get it. They wanted to get the kids to bring their stuff in, but are you kidding me? Anyway, so newbies, any of you who are watching this, I hope that these last 2 weeks have been awesome and amazing, and you're getting to know your kids. Take your time. Be over the top if you can. If not, if you're someone like my dear, sweet Mrs. McLeod, who, I try to emulate, and all my years I've always known I wasn't, I could never be her because of my way. Everybody has their own way, their own individual way. But it felt so good when I realized that, she and I shared the most important part, where we both loved our kids. That's what makes the difference. You got to be yourself in there. Kids can spot a phony a mile away. And if you're not being you, they're going to eat you alive. So, anyway. Maybe I'll get another video on here. We'll see as school progresses. We are getting ready to have our open house here at JBM Thursday night. And I'm looking forward to meeting the parents and let them know. Jack Nicholson said it best in The Shining. The line was, or no, it wasn't The Shining. Jack Nicholson, it was Batman when he played the Joker. Somebody said something to him, and he said, "Wait till they get a load of me." Well, I always say that every year. Wait till my parents get a load of me. Weird, strange, kooky, hot-tempered Mr. Mac. Absolutely. Everything always turns out all right. They know I love their kids, and that makes a difference to parents, too. You know, it did to me with mine. I said on another video I didn't care, not at first, what the teacher did academically in their classroom. I wanted to know. I wanted to know what they did with and for their children, their kids, their charges. How they felt about my son, how they felt about their students. Anyway, take good care. Have a great rest of your week, and I wish you all the best. All right, I'll talk to you again. Bye.